Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. It is deadline day, a massive, massive day we have in store for all Tottenham fans, all football fans around the world. We hope you are all happy and healthy doing the things that you love, with the people that you love doing them with. We're not out today. She, however, is right down there, Bugsy Malone. I don't know if you can see her looking at my guitar. We're sat at the desk for the time being. Thought I'd get a video out. It's going to be a quick one. Update you on where we're at. It's currently 1:26 in the afternoon. You're probably going to be seeing this at about 2 p.m. Hopefully, one of the deals that I'm about to talk about will be done. If not by then very soon after. Brennan Johnson, it looks like, is almost done. The price has been agreed to be around £45 million between Tottenham and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest willingly on board with this transfer so that they can turn their attention to a player that I have been talking about all summer that I thought would have been a superb signing for Spurs, and that is Ibrahim Sangare from PSV Eindhoven. If they can get that done for £35 million, they've got an absolute steal. He is a monster number 6 and a player that will surely catapult Nottingham Forest squad strength to a new level, even with the absence of Brennan Johnson. For me personally, I've made my opinion clear about this all week on Brennan Johnson. I initially wasn't on board with it. I did my research. I didn't like the player. I think he's a one-trick pony. He's a speed merchant, doesn't have a great first touch, doesn't have a very good offload. I still stand by those general assumptions. However, I have spoken to Nottingham Forest fans who understand the game, understand football very well, and they have convinced me that there's more to Brennan Johnson than meets the eye. He does offer things that Dejan Kulusevski doesn't offer. It's unclear right now whether or not he'll be used as a wide man or used in the 9. I think that there might be a time and a place for both. I think in games where we're playing against teams that are willing to play with a high line themselves, the top 6, top 7 teams, maybe, just maybe, we will see him more frequently used on the right. He has that speed. We've seen in the previous 3 games when we have broken away from teams that have had the transition happen against them when they're up the pitch. Dejan Kulusevski just doesn't have the pace to get away from speedier left backs and left wingers and defensive midfielders. And so with Brennan Johnson, we have that option. I also think we have a player in him that can play through the middle against teams that have the low block more as a dominant system for them, teams in the bottom half of the table. He does have a wonderful finish, Brennan Johnson. He does have a very keen ability, acute ability to find the side of the goal. And that, to me, is an asset that is not to be understated. I think that in those tight situations, you're going to, if you have a player that can get the ball into the side of the goal, you're going to get a higher conversion of your chances. For me, I am warming to the idea. It didn't excite me at the first, but I think at this stage, I'm at the point where if Ange is on board with it, Ange understands the specificities, I'm using that word again, of his system more than any other Tottenham fan, more than me, probably more than most people that are watching this. And so whilst I'm not overawed or overjoyed with the signing, I think there's other players out there that I would have preferred to have seen come in. I'm willing to get on board it. I'm willing to get behind it. I'll back the guy, I'll back the club, and I'll back Ange Postecoglou's judgment on this one, providing it is him, of course, that is making this decision, that it is him that has identified this player, and that this isn't someone that the club have figured out. At least if Ange is on board with it, then I am more than willing to get behind it. It's a shame about Ibrahim Sangare going to Nottingham Forest. Obviously, we were never really, truly linked with him, but Tottenham seem to be linked with a different midfielder in the event that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is going to vacate the premises at some point today, and that is Conor Gallagher of Chelsea. We spoke about him yesterday. For me, I really like the player. I really, really do. I think he's a very versatile, very interesting player. He can play defensive midfield, he can play as a box-to-box, and he can play as a creative player. He's played all 3 for Crystal Palace and all 3 for Chelsea. Listen, I think a lot of Chelsea fans don't like the guy because when he came back from following a wonderful season at Crystal Palace, he didn't do anything last season. But I think if you were just to look in isolation at pretty much every single Chelsea player last year, you would come to the same conclusion that all those players let you down. And if you were just reflecting on that, then you would say that all these players were bang average. I don't think we should do that, or don't make that mistake with Conor Gallagher. I think he's a really, really interesting player. He's a workhorse. He's passionate. He's aggressive. He can press for days. He's got a good pass on him. He can score a goal or 2 as well. And I think that what we have in him is a versatile utility player who can come in and play back up to Bissouma if Basuma gets injured. He can play backup to Pape Sarr or to Bentancur should those guys get injured. He can also play backup to Maddison if he should get injured. I think with him, we have a player that can do many different things. Is he going to set the world alight? Well, we'll see. Personally, I don't understand the reason why he's considered so mid and so average by so many Chelsea fans. I think that we can get back to the level that we saw in him from the Crystal Palace experience. He's homegrown as well, which of course is a consideration. And then finally, guys, at the back, before I get to the back, I want to talk about the likelihood of that happening. Whilst the discussions are being had between Tottenham and Chelsea, obviously Tottenham fans know historically, traditionally, Tottenham and Chelsea don't do business. But under this owner at Chelsea, I don't think that those prerequisite precedents really matter. I think that this guy is willing to cash in on the players that he doesn't seem as necessary, as surplus to requirements. With him being homegrown, with him coming through their academy, it's pure profit. And it absolutely will impact and affect their ability with FFP in a positive light. So I think that this one might happen, providing that Tottenham have a home for another midfielder. Whether that is Ollie Skip, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Ndombele. I'm not entirely sure what's happening with all the others, but the one story that does look like it is heating up and there is a possibility of it is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Højbjerg, of course, was interesting the likes of Manchester United, but it looks like Manchester United are going to get their man Sofyan Amrabat now because Fiorentina have just organised their replacement for him, a player from Genoa, I think it was, or maybe Torino. I forget off the top of my head, but another Serie A team have in fact agreed terms with Fiorentina for their player to move to Fiorentina. That will increase the likelihood of Amrabat moving on loan with an obligation to buy for Amrabat to Manchester United, and he only ever had eyes on Manchester United. So the Man United door for Højbjerg is closed. There are two other doors that are very much open. Fulham is one. Fulham are looking for a replacement for Palhinha, if Palhinha is in fact likely to go to Bayern Munich. And also Atletico Madrid are also looking very keenly at Højbjerg as well. The problem is that Højbjerg, I think, has turned down the idea of moving, according to reports, turned down the idea of moving to Fulham. He thinks that he's good enough and should be playing, can and shouldn't be capable enough to be playing at the very best teams in European football, of which he doesn't consider Fulham to be one. And so with the situation as it is, the likeliest outcome that results in Højbjerg leaving will be for him to go to Atletico Madrid. That story will depend in all likelihood on Atletico Madrid's ability to raise the funds, which of course will probably happen if they can confirm the deal for João Felix to leave Atletico Madrid and go to Barcelona. Barcelona's ability to do that entirely depended on their player Ansu Fati going to Brighton, which has, I believe, now been concluded. And so you can understand there's this domino effect. It's like trying to sell houses. You're in a chain and one, you can all agree on the terms, but it all depends on the person next to you, the person next down the line selling their house. And so you can conclude that system. To me, it's going to be a complicated one, a complex one. It's going to go right to the wire. Maybe Tottenham can agree terms and a deal with Conor Gallagher. But will Pierre-Emile Højbjerg be able to find room, find time to get to Spain, to get to Madrid, to have his medical and for all those terms to be done? Time will tell. It's an interesting one. And for me, it's a player, Conor Gallagher, that I think is an upgrade on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. I love Pierre-Emile Højbjerg as a professional, as a footballer. You know, availability is the best ability, so they say, and he's been an absolute stalwart for Tottenham over the last 2 years. But I personally just see him as a player that only really fits into a sort of double pivot midfield. He doesn't really sit any of the specifics of what is required in the 2-8s or the 10, the 8 and the 6 that Tottenham are asking of him. And so we wish him well if he does get that move. And hopefully we can bring in someone that can, in the form of Conor Gallagher, play that versatile role that can fill in pretty much anywhere on the pitch. I'd be excited about it. I would get on board it. The last story, of course, is about the centre-backs. We've got Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth, a player that, I'll be entirely honest, I still haven't had time to do my research on, but you know what? It's underwhelming at best. If he was that good of a player, I would have noticed him before in the Premier League, and I haven't. So I'll be entirely honest. Don't know what to say about him. If Tottenham have identified him and really want him, then so be it. But I find it strange that if it was a top target for us over the summer, then why are we only hearing about it, you know, with 12 hours to go or 24 hours to go in this particular transfer window? It seems like a little bit of a drastic measure in the world, in the scenario where we can, in fact, move some players on. We do know that Tanganga is currently in Germany at Augsburg, looking to get his paperwork complete. His medical has been done. That is basically done. But in order for Tottenham to bring in a centre-back, one of Dyer or Sanchez also needs to leave the club. And it looks increasingly likely that Eric Dyer is in no mood to go. He is digging his heels in and is saying, I am not leaving. I am not going anywhere. I want my year's salary, and then I'm going to go international for free next summer and get my last big payday. You know what? It's a stubborn guy, but he's entitled to do as he sees fit, I guess. It's a real shame. The only other option would be to tear up the contract. But as I've mentioned before, tearing up contracts sets horrible precedents when there's 6 or 7 clubs that are all playing to the same sort of action. They're all digging their heels in, waiting for the club to move first. And when you have players like Sanchez, Dyer, and Ndombele that are all candidates for, torn contracts, then it ends up with a very expensive exercise that doesn't really help anybody, at least of all the club. So for me, the only real option of getting in a centre-back is going to be dependent on the willingness of Davinson Sanchez to leave the club. And he has, in fact, had offers all summer, turned them all down from Spartak Moscow, from Galatasaray, from a couple of places in Germany, I think, a couple of places in France. Today, there was an offer that came from France. So that club was, in fact, Rennes, who have made a €12 million offer for Tottenham's Davinson Sanchez, according to L'Equipe, but that was, in fact, turned down. Tottenham want €15 million, and that was proven to be apparently too expensive for Rennes, and they have now turned their attention elsewhere. If that is true, I'm fuming. What difference does $3 million make in the grand scheme of things if you can get rid of a player and then bring someone in? Who that player that we could have brought in or could still bring in is? Well, if it's not Lloyd Kelly, and let's be honest, if it is Lloyd Kelly, I don't really know if there's a massive improvement or if it's a huge level up or even a stopgap that we're really going to be excited about. If it's him, if it's Tosin Adarabioyo and that deal that he hasn't yet completed to Monaco is still in the works. Fulham are still very much interested in trying to do some business here with Tottenham Hotspur late in the window. But on top of that, there is rumours out today, guys, and it's one that I've been calling for so long, is Bella Kotchap from Southampton. He hasn't played this season in the Championship because he's been injured, but as of yet, he hasn't found a new home. A couple of clubs were interested in. Bayern Munich were interested in him, as were Dortmund. That deal has fallen through, and the terms of the deal were incredibly fair and reasonable. And I don't understand why Tottenham or any other Premier League club haven't yet come in and tried to gazump it and figure out a way to make Bella Kotchap their last statement signing as a centre-back. And to me, that is the news I wanted to hear this morning, that Tottenham are, in fact, trying to get that done. So time will tell. We've got about 11 hours left of the window, and we'll find out. Everything depends. Brennan Johnson looks like it's done, but everything else depends a little bit on who's going to be here and who isn't. If Højbjerg can go, then maybe Tottenham can bring in Gallagher. If we can find a new home for Davinson Sanchez, then maybe we can find a way to bring Bella Kotchap in, or Tosin Adarabioyo from Fulham. And obviously, we still have those ongoing links towards Lloyd Kelly as well. Lots to do, guys. For me, though, the window right now is about a 4.5 out of 10 at best, and I'm probably being generous. But if we can get in Brennan Johnson, Conor Gallagher, and Bella Kotchap, I'm very happy with how that window finishes, and I think that we elevate it up to a 7.5. Of course, you can't go much higher than that because we haven't got a 9. We haven't got a player in who can replace anything like the goal tally that Harry Kane's exit is going to leave us with. Richarlison's just not that guy, and unfortunately, we've run out of time to get anything more done. It's been a nightmare. I lay a lot of this at the club's feet, a lot of this at the owner's feet, but I also lay a lot of this at the reality of the situation with the players just digging their heels in. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it. And unfortunately, some of these players are pampered and spoiled at Tottenham and are just digging their heels in and will not leave. We'll see what happens, guys. You can catch me at 6 o'clock here on this channel, 6 till 8 with Saba and Henry. Then we're going to pivot to Saba's channel for 8 till 10. And then finally, the last 2 hours of the window are going to be held on Henry's channel, and we will see what happens. So you'll see us all over the rest of the evening. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, guys, come on, you Spurs!